Hello everyone. Let's discuss what we have learned in the last video. In the last video, we learned about RDS, that is Relational Database Service. So what is RDS? It is a AWS service where we can configure, set up and maintain RDBMS database. RDS is a database service, not database, and RDS supports only RDBMS database. Then what is database? It is used to store the data. Then what is data warehouse? It is used to store the huge data. Okay, now RDS, we have RDS as a database, and we will have Redshift as a data warehouse service. Okay. For database we have RDS. For data warehouse we have Redshift. Then there are 7 engines in RDS. What are those 7 engines? Okay. MySQL, MS SQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, Aurora, IBM DB2. Then what is Elastic Cache? It is an in-memory database caching service. Okay. This cache memory has 2 engines. What are those 2 engines? Redis and Memcache. We learn detail about this Elastic Cache. For example, if anyone is looking frequently accessing any website, okay, so database will provide this request from the cache memory only, and cache memory of Redis and Memcache. In the last video, we learned details about this Elastic Cache. So now in today's topic, we will discuss about Route 53. Okay, we will understand what is exactly Route 53 and what is the work of Route 53. Okay, now let's assume that we have multiple EC2 instances. These are our EC2 instances. We have multiple EC2 instances. And obviously we will have elastic load balancer to distribute the traffic among these EC2 instances. We will have elastic load balancer. As we are learning AWS, so we will use elastic load balancer service in AWS. Okay, we will not use load balancer. We will use elastic load balancer as we are using AWS services. So we will have elastic load balancer to distribute traffic to these multiple EC2 instances. Okay, and above this EC2 instances, we will have auto scaling. Okay, we will have auto scaling above this EC2 instances. Auto scaling. Okay, and we will have DNS name for URL. Okay, this DNS name will provide the URL to access our website. DNS name. Okay, we will have DNS name in the elastic load balancer for URL. Okay, we have DNS name for URL, and this URL is nasty URL. Okay, let's assume that this DNS name provided us one URL, and this URL is nasty URL. Let's assume that http:// my elastic load balance my ELB 8421 ap dot hyphen south dot 1. Okay, this is DNS name provided as one URL, which is nasty URL, http:// my ELB 8421 API open south hyphen 1 AWS. This is our nasty URL. Now tell me, if I give this URL to any customer, will he accept this nasty URL? Obviously no, because he will need one simple URL to access. He will not remember this long URL, so he will expect one simple URL from me. So but this DNS name anytime will provide us one nasty URL only. So how we will convert this nasty URL to the simple URL in AWS? Okay, so here we came with one service, that is Route 53. Okay, so DNS name is providing us one nasty URL, and customer will not accept this nasty URL, so we have to provide him one simple URL. Okay, for example google.com, facebook.com, these are the simple URL. So to make this URL simple, we are using Route 53 service in AWS. Now what is this Route 53? Okay, now Route 53 contains records and do mapping. Okay, Route 53 contains records and do mapping. what is the purpose of Route 53 in AWS? Route 53 contains records and do mapping. Now Route 53 contains records and do mapping means what does exactly it do? Okay, it contains record and do mapping means, for example, if I am accessing one URL, so Route 53 will decide this where this URL should go. Like for example, my application is in EC2 instances and I want to hit this URL to the EC2 instances. So Route 53 will decide to send this URL to the EC2 instances. So that's why the Route 53 contains records and do mapping also. So here now 53 is a DNS port number. Interview point of view, important question. 53 is a DNS port number. Route 53 contains records and do mapping. 53 is a DNS port number. Okay, why we are using Route 53 service in AWS? Because for example, we have one elastic load balancer, okay, and we have multiple EC2 instances. We are distributing traffic to these EC2 instances, and we are also using auto scaling. Now, whenever any customer from here outside, for example, let's assume okay, let's assume from here client will access any website. Okay, from here client will access any website. Okay, now this website will first hit to the elastic load balancer, then elastic load balancer will distribute this request to the EC2 instances, multiple EC2 instances. Okay, now here in elastic load balancer we have DNS name which will provide us one nasty URL. Okay, now customer will not accept the nasty URL, he need one simple URL to access. So we are using Route 53 in AWS where we will get one simple URL. So what is the work of Route 53? Route 53 contains records and do mapping. Then what is 53? 53 is a DNS port number. Okay. So here now, if you hit any URL, it will hit first Route 53. Then Route 53 will do mapping of this URL and then it will send to the elastic load balance. Okay. Now, whenever we will hit any nasty URL, it will first go to the Route 53. Now Route 53 will decide of this URL, like Route 53 will do mapping, will create records, and then it will send to the elastic load balancer. So DNS name will provide us nasty URL. Okay, this nasty URL first will go to the Route 53. Now Route 53 will do mapping and create records and will provide one simple URL, and then this URL again will hit back to the elastic load balancer. Now we will understand how this Route 53 works in the backend. Okay, as I told you, the request will go to first to the Route 53. Okay, for example, let's assume that Route 53. Okay, so our request will go first to the Route 53. Okay, from Route 53, the request will go to the name server. Okay, we will have a name server. We learn about name server and state of authority in DNS part. Okay, we learn details about name server, state of authority, how there also the request will go to the application server, database server. All this we learn in the DNS. So again we are learning in Route 53. Okay, so request will hit first to the Route 53, then from Route 53 request will go to the name server. Now what is the purpose of name server, or what is the work of name server? Name server will identify domain names. Domain names means, what are these domain names? It can be .com, .in, .gov. What are those domain names? It will identify the name server. And we will also have here state of authority, SOA, state of authority. Okay, first we will, okay, from name server request will go to the state of authority, SOA. Okay, state of authority will have IP address of this URL. Okay, state of authority will have IP. Okay, the request will go first to the Route 53. Route 53 will send request to the name server. Name server will identify the domain name. The name server will forward this request to the stat of authority. Now this stat of authority will have the IP address of this URL. Okay. Now from stat of authority and name server, the request will forward to the hosted zone. Okay, hosted zone. Now there are two types of hosted zone here. One is public hosted zone and one is private hosted zone. There are two types of hosted zone, public hosted zone and private hosted zone. Public and private. Okay. Now if I am accessing through internet, it will be the public hosted zone. If I am accessing through internet, then it will public hosted zone. And if I am accessing through VPC, so it will be the private hosted zone. Okay. First request will hit to the route 53. Route 53 will send request to the name server. Name server will identify domain names like .com, .in, .gov. This name server will forward request to the stat of authority, and stat of authority will have IP address of that specific URL. Okay, the stat of authority will forward this request to the hosted zone. There are two types of hosted zone, public hosted zone and private hosted zone. If I am accessing through internet, request will forward to the public hosted zone. If I am accessing through VPC, the request will forward to the private hosted zone. Now, this hosted zone will create records and do mapping. It will create records and do mapping. In simple word means hosted zone will decide where the request will go, like it will go to the EC2 instances or not. Like Route 53 will decide. So from this hosted zone will create records. Hosted zone will create records. Like for example, there is one nasty URL. This is nasty URL. And this nasty URL will convert to the simple URL, for example, google.com. Okay. Now, hosted zone will create records. For example, I have one nasty URL. This nasty URL will convert to the simple URL, for example, like google.com. Then this hosted zone will forward this request to the elastic load balancer. Hosted zone will forward request to the elastic load balancer. And this elastic load balancer will forward request to the EC2 instances. This elastic load balancer will forward request to the EC2 instances. Okay. So what is Route 53? Route 53 will contain records and do mapping. What is the work of Route 53? For example, we have one nasty URL. So DNS name will provide us one nasty URL. So work of Route 53 in simple word is it will convert this nasty URL to the simple URL. Okay. How this Route 53 works? Okay. Now here 53 is a DNS port number. Okay. How this Route 53 works? The first request will go first to the Route 53. Then Route 53 will forward request to the name server. From name server to the stat of authority. Stat of authority will have IP address. Now from stat of authority request will forward to the hosted zone. If I am accessing through internet, then we will use public hosted zone. If I am accessing through VPC, then we will use private hosted zone. Hosted zone will create records and do mapping. For example, if I have nasty URL, these records will go to the simple URL. From records, this hosted zone will forward request to the elastic load balancer, and elastic load balancer will distribute request to the EC2 instances. Okay, we will understand Route 53 in details in practicals also. Like in GoDaddy website, we get our domain names. Okay, we purchase our domain names also. So AWS has provided Route 53, where from Route 53 also we will purchase our domain names, and we can create our website from nest. If you have one nasty URL, so Route 53 will provide one simple URL for that also. So all these services will be provided by Route 53 only. We will discuss this in practicals.